The necessity of the day, the political necessity, explains attempts at merger, political mergers, and what the objective may be at a particular time. So what you get with these mergers and coalitions is that once the objective is achieved, there is a tendency for the people to fragment and start pushing different interests because they have different agendas.
It's always been an alphabet soup of political parties changing identities.
Africans were not allowed to have one national party. So after 1960 Lancaster House Conference, the door was open. So the African political leaders came together to create one strong party that would then push for independence. So the objective there was very clear, is to have a strong united voice to push for independence. There were still fractions within it. KANU, of course, the party that took in Kenya to independence, and within 2 years they started quarreling. President Kenyatta and his vice presidents were quarreling on which direction to go. So you can see that pattern remains.
Japokuwa hatukuja kuandikisha kupiga marufuku, tulikuwa kitu kimoja.
The next attempt at an alliance was just before multi-party politics was reintroduced in 1992.
This was the formation of FORD as a forum. And what we saw in the FORD formation was the ganging up of diverse political interests that claimed to be in opposition to the KANU, to Moi's government, with one clear objective of removing Section 2A and returning the country to multi-partyism. And that succeeded to that extent. Once it succeeded, it then fragmented.
In August of 1992, FORD split into two, FORD Asili, led by Kenneth Matiba, and FORD Kenya, led by the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. FORD Kenya put on a poor show in the 1992 general election.
If we accept the results as given, Moi won the election. How he won is not the issue, but he won the election. Matiba came second. Kibaki came third. Jaramogi was number 4. Now, he was very bitter because he thought had Kibaki and Matiba not been candidates, maybe he would have got all those votes. A
Jaramogi-Moi partnership was in the offing before Oginga's death in January 1994.
And Raila wanted to be the leader of the FORD Kenya because his father is gone. And Wamalwa was sitting there, the vice president, saying, no, but I'm the vice. So we saw them fighting physically in Thika.
Having lost the battle for the party's leadership, Raila Odinga left FORD Kenya and joined the National Development Party, NDP.
Moi was in his last term as per new constitution that he had created. And there was an attempt to have the 2-term limit removed so that Moi can continue being president because he knows how to win. If the 2-term limit is not removed as expected, Raila did expect that if Moi is not the candidate on KANU because of the constitutional limit, maybe then Moi will bless him to be the KANU man.
Na huyo ni huyu mzee Uhuru.
And when the KANU coalition merger collapsed, then the fragments within it had to find new home. And they found the new home in NAC.
The rainbow-colored new-ish men successfully broke up KANU's 24-year hold on to power.
Once the election was over, then those diverse interests started coming out to the front. After they had achieved the objective was removing KANU from office, now what? So they started quarreling. In less than a month, they were quarreling about something they were calling MOUs. And there were so many MOUs in 202, depending on which one wants to emphasize. The 205 referendum had very little to do with the document. That's why we had very peculiar statements saying that if the banana side loses, then the president should resign. It was turned around that it stopped being a discussion of the document and now became an agenda in regime change. It failed in that sense. That now created the hula baloo that would lead to the 207. And then the country was forced to have an Usumkate government, which was very uneasy, but it did deliver a new constitution.
The referendum on a comprehensive new constitution was hailed as a big step towards an overhaul of the country's creaking political system and give people a better chance at peaceful reforms. In 2013, the first general election under the new rules happened.
In the Jubilee coalition that won at the time, is that it has held. Ordinarily, you start seeing signs of friction, and there have been some signs of friction. There are people within the coalition who have been creating problems. If you look at even the Chord coalition, so you're having this friction.
It's been described as the mother of all mergers.
This party that is being created, and you are being told that it's going to be made a strong national party, as assuming that the others were not strong national anything. It is more of a 2022 project. I think this is more of a William Ruto agenda. In a sense, he is replicating what Moi did in the 1970s with KANU. Create a machinery right at the ground where you have loyal, dedicated people in charge of everything. So when the time comes in 2022, his mobilization effort will be very easy.
We have too many parties, and none of them shows any coherently different ideology from any other. That is why, in principle, merging is a good thing for me. To merge, for them to merge, become as few as possible, is in principle a good thing for me. My only worry is that I don't see any ideas in any of the parties. Whether ODM or PNU, I don't see any difference in terms of ideas. That is why, that is even a good reason for them to merge, because they have no differences. They have no real differences. They have only tribal differences.
Still, it has been hard to keep track of the mergers and disbandments, the alignments and reconstitutions.
If Uhuru calls his party something else today, people who abandon Jubilee, who abandon TNA, they'll just, what do you want? Say, I want this. Okay, now we are all this. In the same way with the Raila people. Or they ask, what do you want, Baba? And he says, then they say, they're all abandoned and they go.
Our opposition does not take an initiative. It waits for the government to do something and then it responds. And the government itself does not do anything that would surprise me by its newness. That would pleasantly surprise me by its newness.
Is there a chance that this unity could also retrace these historical steps?
The objective of having a strong party that will have a serious presence in Parliament may be diluted if the nominations go the way we know they usually go. The big fanfare party will have no effect.
Some well-idealized, some well-spoken set of ideas. I haven't seen such a party yet. I haven't seen it in Kenya. And I will be happy. I might even join it if there was such a party.
Sheila Sendeyo, NTV.